Hello! This time we're going to look at creating actors. Actors will be the default tab open when you start OhMyGame, so you can just press Add Actor Category. An actor category is a list of related actors. For instance, you might want to keep all the actors pertaining to the avatar, such as the avatar itself, any projectiles fired by the avatar, or any special effects such as hit splashes or other effects in the same folder. The reason for this will become clear later. You will also want to keep, for instance, flying enemies and ground enemies in separate categories, because they will have separate rules governing their relationship to the world. We'll start out simple by creating the avatar category. Press Create Category, and it will appear in the list. Open it, press Add Actor, and create the avatar. Press Create Actor. Now, press the avatar, and you will see the logic interface. This is where you code your actor's behaviors. We're going to look at that in a few minutes, but first we're going to look at the basics of animation and physics. Press the Animation and Physics tab at the top. Here you can see the preview window where you will be composing and previewing your animation, the list of animations, the animation wheel, various controls for the physics engine, and the list of imported animation frames. First and foremost, we want to add an animation. Press the Add Animation button and type idle. The idle animation is the animation that the avatar will be displaying when no input is given. He'll just be standing around. So press Create Animation, select the idle animation, and then press Import Frames. Navigate to where you keep your actors and import its idle animation. Now, notice that he's facing towards the left. We want him to face towards the right initially. That means we have to flip him. You can flip horizontally and vertically down in the lower right corner. This is also where you preview your animation. So we select the animation frame, we press flip horizontally, press it again, and notice that you will have updated the orientation of the actor. Now, next up. Under the animation wheel is a pull-down menu saying Dynamic Rotation. Press it, and you will see that you can choose between 4, 8, 16, and 32 directions. This is the number of orientations your character will have. As you can see, the animation wheel grows in complexity the more directions you need. For this simple character, we only need 4 directions. In this case, you'll see that the animations have defaulted to 0 degrees, and there are 90, 180, and 270 degrees in addition. These correspond to up, down, left, and right. 0 is up, 180 is down, 90 is to the right, and 270 is to the left. Now, we want to remove the avatar's idle animation from the 0 degree box. So just select him, press X, and he's gone. Now select 90 degrees, that is, facing to the right. Press Import Frames, and import Ninja facing to the right. You can zoom in and out using the slider up here. And you can toggle Showing Geometry by pressing Show Collision Geometry. The collision geometry determines how the actor interacts with the world, with the collision geometry from the level editor. It does not need to accurately envelop the character, it just needs to make out the basic shape. That means you will want the bottom of the geometry to sit at his feet, and presumably for the top to sit around his head. Generally, it's a good idea to keep the collision geometry slightly smaller than the actor. This is because the player will feel more in control of the character if they have slight leeway, if they have a slightly greater chance to avoid enemies or to avoid being hit. In the same way, it's often a good idea to make the collision boxes for enemies slightly generous so that it's easy for the player to hit them. You can also add more points to the collision geometry to make more complex shapes. Simply double-click the orange circles, like this, and then click and drag the black ones. You can double-click the black ones to remove them too. Now we've added a lot of redundant points, so we'll simply remove them again. While you can make very complex collision geometry, it's generally pointless, because the only thing it does is complicate the way your actor interacts with the world. You want to keep it fairly simple. We also want to keep the keep upright box checked. This ensures the character keeps straight, that it does not rotate no matter what happens. This gives you full control over the actor's appearance during animations. These sliders govern the actor's physical properties. This is the mass, this is the friction, and this is the bounciness. The mass is given in kilograms and ranges from 1 kilo to 500 kilos. You will generally want to give your actor a somewhat realistic mass. Otherwise, the various actors in your world will feel like they're made out of styrofoam or other very light materials. They will feel like they have no heft of their own. So we'll set the ninja's mass to 70 kilograms. Now the friction determines how much power or how much energy is lost when an actor interacts with other actors and the collision geometry. It's hard to set a good default value for this. You will need to tweak it in order to get a good feel for your character, but I prefer to set it around 0.5 just for starts. Now the bounciness determines how much your actor will retain its energy when it hits other actors and collision geometry. A high bounciness means that an actor will bounce several times before coming to a rest, while a low bounciness means that they will simply immediately come to rest upon hitting other geometry. We will want to keep this at 0 for the time being. Now, we've set up the idle animation for one direction. We will want to set it for the left direction as well. Press the corresponding box, press Import Frames, and then import the ninja again. You will notice that he's facing right again, so we'll need to flip him horizontally. You'll also notice that the collision box is slightly off, and that they cannot be changed between frames. They will need to be the same for every animation. So we'll make a few changes to make sure that the rectangle properly envelops the actor in both directions. See, still slightly off. This is a fairly good compromise. We'll leave it for that. Now let's add the rest of the animations and set up some more complex animations. First, we want to input the running animation. Press Create Animation, then select Running, set from Dynamic Rotation to 4 directions, select the right facing box at 90 degrees, and press Import Frames. Select your frames, import them, and notice that they have appeared in the list of frames. You will see that they're slightly jumbled. It doesn't matter how you import your frames, you will generally need to rearrange them somewhat. We'll also notice that the collision geometry does not fully correspond to the running ninja, and we'll need to rectify that, but we'll simply do that after we import all the different animation frames, and we'll find a good compromise. For now, let's order the various animation frames. Okay, in this case it's fairly simple. The first frame is the ninja's legs overlapping. The next one is one leg ahead and the other behind. And the third frame will emphasize the motion. As you can see, the last three frames are in the incorrect order. We'll simply drag the last frame ahead of the two previous ones. Now the animation is set up properly, and you can preview it to see that it plays. As you can see, the preview is slightly too fast. Let's set up some frame delay to get a better idea what the animation looks like. We'll need to select all of the frames by holding Shift and selecting the last frame in the sequence. Now, set frame delay to 10. This is much slower than you will ever want it in-game, but it's good for preview purposes to get a sense of the flow of the animation and make sure that all of your frames are aligned in the right order. Now press play, and you can see. This works fine, so we'll keep it for now. We'll reset the frame delay to 1. We'll then select the motion emphasis frames at the end with the legs shot further ahead and farther back, and we'll set them to frame delay 2. They will then last slightly longer than the other frames, adding weight to the motion. Now we will import the other direction, 270 degrees. Import frames, select again, open, flip them, and rearrange the frames. Once again, the three first frames are properly aligned. And in this case, actually all of the frames are already properly aligned. We won't have to touch them. Make sure that all of the frames are set to frame delay 1, except the emphasis frames, which should be set to 2. Now it's time to add the jumping animation. Once again, set the dynamic rotation to 4 directions. We will still want to set the jumping animation frames to face left and right. We'll start by importing the right-facing frames. As you can see, this is a longer sequence, and so arranging the frames properly will take slightly more time. This looks fine. Select all the animation frames, set a high frame delay, and inspect it by pressing play. This looks fine, so we'll add the left-facing animation. Once again, import the frames, flip them horizontally, and then rearrange them in the correct order. Once again, increase the delay, check the animation is properly aligned, and then reset the frame delay. Okay, we've set up all the animations we'll need for the time being, so it's time to look at behaviors and logic. Okay, first a quick overview of the behaviors and logic interface. First up are the list of behaviors. At the bottom you'll find variables, which are divided in two. It's local variables and global variables. Variables are data containers. This is where you store values such as score or health and a variety of other information that you will need to use in order to construct behaviors. In the center is the area where you compose your logic, and to the right is the logic library. It's divided into causes and effects. There's a search bar where you can type in whatever you're looking for, and it will be listed under the box. The causes are divided into timing, which determines how often or when an effect is caused. Probability, input, comparisons, this is where you compare variables. Collision, this is how you determine that an actor is hitting another actor, or the collision geometry and level. Distance, which allows you to find the distance between this actor and other actors. And movement, which checks how fast the actor is traveling in a certain direction. In effect, there are many more categories. There is spawning and destruction, which allows you to create and destroy actors. Camera, which allows you to control the camera. Distance, which allows you to get the nearest of any type of actor. Positioning, which allows you to lock the position of an actor to a different actor, or otherwise manipulate its position on the screen. Variables allow you to store information into variables. Movement allows you to easily control the movement of actors. Rotation allows you to rotate actors, while scaling allows you to scale them. Animation allows you to play back animations, while sound allows you to play sounds. Drawing allows you to set the opacity of the actor, or hide and show actors and mouse cursors on demand. Behavior allows you to switch on and off behaviors either on this actor or on different actors. This allows you to remote control other actors' behaviors depending on, for instance, the avatar's state. Physics allows you to set the physical properties of the actor. Actors allow you to pick specific actors from the environment of this actor and store them, while system simply allows you to load or unload levels from the system. Now, the first sort of behavior we want to set up is a simple movement behavior. Press Add New Behavior, type Movement, and press Create New Behavior. You'll notice that the behavior is switched on by default. You can switch them off by pressing the checkbox. Now, press Movement, select Causes, press Timing, and choose On Every Frame. Alternately, you can type on every frame and select from the list and drag it in. You can remove logic blocks by pressing the X at their far right side. Now we'll go into Effects and we'll find the Platform Movement block. Drag it in and you'll have a single block that gives you simple platform movement. As you can see, there are a variety of settings that need to be input into this block before it'll work. We'll go through them one by one. First and foremost, you'll need to set up the animations. In this case, we have the idle, run, up and down. Idle is the default animation of the actor displayed when it is not receiving input or moving, and we'll set that to idle. Run, same thing. It's a running animation from when you're moving from one side to another. Set it to running. Up is the animation displayed when you're jumping upwards, while down is falling downwards. We'll set both of them to jumping. Forces determine the movement speed of your actor. It also determines the power of your jumps. Dampening is a value that determines how fast your actor accelerates. Again, it's hard to set a good initial value, so we'll simply set it to 0.5 and work from there. Movement speed determines, in this case, the horizontal movement of the actor. This is dependent on the mass of the actor, and will generally want to be several times the size of its mass. Now, if we go back into animation and physics to inspect the actor, we'll find that his mass is 70 kilograms. We'll therefore set the movement speed of the avatar to 210, which is 3 times 70. We will want to set the jump force to even more, so we'll set that to 420, 6 times the actor's mass. Now, the extra jump force and extra jump time allows you to set an interval after jumping where you can add more power to the jump. Now, if you've ever played Super Mario, you'll remember that if you simply jab the button, he will just make a small jump. And if you hold it down, he'll jump higher. This is what extra jump force and extra jump time controls. If we set up extra jump time to be 10 frames, which is the third of a second, since OhMyGame runs at 30 frames per second, and the extra jump force to be 20, allows you to add another 200 jump force over the matter of a third of a second. Most of these values will probably turn out to be fairly wrong or bad, but there's no good way to decide on values before you've tested them, so we'll simply leave them as they are for the time being. Next up, you'll need to set up the input. To jump, you'll need to press J. To move left, you'll press A. And to move right, you'll press D. This is all you need in order to set up basic platform controls. We're now going to test the actor to see if it works as we intend. But first, we have to add him to the level. Press the Levels tab and open the level we created earlier. Once the level is open, select the actor level layer, and you'll notice that the ninja is sitting there waiting for us. Simply drag him into the stage. And press Test Game to see how he works. As we can see, he's moving, albeit slowly, and he's jumping, albeit not very high. But at least he's working. Press back to the editor in order to stop the test. We want to make some simple alterations to the ninja, such as adding a camera to him, so that the screen scrolls alongside him. Now open the Actors tab, press the avatar, and you'll once again be presented with behaviors and logic. Now add a new behavior called Camera Control. Press Create Behavior and select Causes. Drag in on every frame. What this means is that every update of the game loop, that is 30 times a second, the following effect will be executed. Now type camera and choose center camera on this actor with ease and dead zone. Drag it in. Now the ease determines how fast the camera accelerates when following the actor. We'll set it to medium. The dead zone determines how far the actor can stray from the center of the screen before the camera starts catching up with it. We will set it to 25. Again, it's hard to determine good initial values, so you'll simply have to put in something and experiment from there on. Now, let's test again and see how the camera works. As you can see, the camera immediately moved over to the ninja and is now following him as he moves along. We will now modify the values in the platformer block until we get a satisfying feel to the ninja. As you can remember, his movement speed was not very high, so we'll multiply that by 2. He will now move twice as fast as he did before. The jump force will also need to be multiplied, and we'll simply multiply that by 2 as well. We will increase the jump force to 50. We don't need to change any of the animations or the inputs, so we can test the game once more. As you can see, the ninja now moves faster and jumps much higher. These values don't look particularly excellent either, so you'll need to modify them. But we're already getting a better sense of how the ninja should be moving. Now it's time for you to simply experiment and see if you can find a good feel for your character. Next up, we'll teach you more advanced actor design patterns, such as throwing objects and interacting with other objects in the game world.